Well met, adventurers from the outside server. I am Daddy Fatberd, and this is my review of the 2022 Marvel Midnight Suns base game published by 2K and developed by Firaxis Games for the PC. According to the tags on the tin, it is a superhero turn-based combat strategy and tactical RPG deck building, single-player, 3D, third-person CRPG with elements of fantasy, magic, and the supernatural. Steam says it allows you to fight and strategize like a superhero in the darker corners of the Marvel Universe. In it, you play as the Hunter, a legendary demon slayer who must lead a team of superheroes and supernatural warriors facing apocalyptic threats. It was released on December 2nd, 2022 and could be purchased on Steam as either the Standard Edition, retailing for $79.99 Canadian, a Digital Plus Edition for $99.99 Canadian, or a Legendary Edition for $119.99 Canadian. The Standard Edition includes the base game, the Digital Plus includes the base game and 11 premium cosmetic skins, and the Legendary included the base game, the Season Pass, a total of 23 premium skins, and 4 post-launch DLC packs. The Season Pass, retailing separately for $66.99 Canadian, with the first of the 4 post-launch DLCs being announced at the time of this review, features Deadpool and releases January 26, 2023, and is reported to include the character wielding 10 unique hero abilities, new story missions, and an upgrade to the Abby content in addition to cosmetics. More on this in a future review. Now, with all that out of the way, is this thing worth 5 hours of minimum wage work? Would I forego buying pizza for the family twice in order to pay for this game? Is it worth the buy? As I record this, I've completed 66 days in-game and unlocked 43 of the 51 Steam achievements in 140.8 hours of playtime. So on a purely cost per hour scale, that's 55 cents an hour for the entertainment to this point, with the Standard Edition I purchased at full price. With the ability to continue on after the mission storyline is complete, this will reduce the per hour cost even more. For those of you looking to find out if the gameplay is worth it, are the graphics up to snuff? Is there replayability? Does the storyline suck? I will provide my old school gamer answers to these questions and more, but first, if you could, do the stuff with the things other YouTubers ask you to do, and if you have any comments, go ahead and leave them. So, a little background on Daddy Fatberd and my video game reviews. I was around in the dinosaur days of the Commodore 64 and Amiga when playing on console meant the Atari or in television. I have seen the fall, the growth, and the stagnation of the industry and currently look upon the cornucopia of product out there today as something unimaginable to the childlike mind of little Daddy Fatberd of years gone by. So now I simply judge how ripe or rotten the fruit pouring out is, fully aware of the immense effort it is to produce a working, viable game in the first place, and using our current technological tools that are available. The Daddy Fatberd rating system is ranked out of 4, so there's no wishy-washy middle ground here. Rank 1 is the baby-faced products, those who need to go back to their parents in shame for their inability to grow facial hair. Rank 2 are the 5 o'clock shadow people, whose efforts culminated into something bad that either needs them to learn more about their skills, they either missed the mark with their target audience, or they're simply old, worn-out grognards who simply mailed in their work. Rank 3 are the passable and respectable fullbeards, who, even though there are likely a few faults in their work, the overall result is something more than playable, cogent and fun to play. And finally, we come to the full-on Fatberd, where the result is something as good as can be expected at the time it was produced. That's not to say that a Fatberd is perfect. We all know to err is human, and that it simply is not possible to please all of the people all of the time, no matter who you are. But for those who get it, it's a great, entertaining experience. So where does Marvel Midnight Suns rank? First, let's look at the gameplay and compatibility. This gets a full beard from me. I use 3 NVIDIA systems, the low end being a 2060 Super, the mid being a 3080, and the highest a 3090. I found the Steam Cloud service worked, but needed to confirm I was using the most up-to-date saves. A good addition to the portability of the game, but also not a direct reflection on Firaxis. Autosaves were relatively seamless, however. It must be noted that on the lower end system, there was a noticeable delay on the loading of the inventory screen and on the load and save times compared to the mid and high end system performances. Also, the use of ray tracing was good on the 4K 3080 setup I had, but there was some issues with HDR that created contrast issues of brightness and dimness when there shouldn't be. Play on the 3090 setup in HD on a gaming monitor was spectacular and instantaneous. No complaints there. As far as the tactical gameplay, it's an excellent hybrid with randomness dictated by the card draws, rather than some 2-hit number that's randomly assigned to an ability. It created more of a satisfying chess-like tactical feel with near infinite combinations based on the card drawn and the modifications that the character has, along with any crafting that the player may have invested in. There were 2 issues of enemies clipping through the battlefield, not unsurmountable to fight through in the progress of going through the missions at normal difficulty, but such bugs should also not occur in a title at this price point. I also had an issue when it came to the act progression screen. It just didn't load and stalled the game when it went to Act 2 and 3. Overall, a satisfying and fun level of gameplay. If only those few quirks were fixed, the rating would be higher. And I did notice that NVIDIA is having an update to their driver specifically for Marvel's Midnight Suns that should occur before the end of the month. As far as the graphics and cinematography, it gets a full beard. When looking through other reviews prior to purchasing, one of the things that was brought up was a lack of facial detail and what some called generic-looking graphics for the 3D character. As a fan of the original comic book characters, these details seem fine enough to represent a lifelike version of the pages come to form. If I was looking at this as a Marvel Cinematic Universe representation, however, these are not. And I do not expect Brie Larson's face on Captain Marvel or Robert Downey to voice and face capture Iron Man in this, so I did not find this to be the case. The fidelity of the graphics were noticeably influenced by the system I had, and the experience really requires the use of ray tracing and higher-end graphics cards to get the level of detail to be seamless. Those who do not expect slightly less than ultra settings get what can be expected. As far as the story and lore, or the legacy, this gets a full-on Fatberd from me. The Fatberd grows in regards to the story elements once you realize this game is based on the Midnight Suns prequel shorts. 33 minutes of animation released in 5 parts prior to the game release. It forms the basis of the story arcs in Marvel's Midnight Suns. A great preamble to hype up the player, and an homage to the source material that had this old school grognard swelling with nostalgia and anticipation and giving us the formation of the Midnight Suns team from pre-existing Marvel characters. Once in the game, the introductions to characters are swift and humorous, and after the introductions are over, the home-base exploration of the pocket dimension called the Abbey is a font of most of the overarching elements of the RPG storyline, and it fits the mold of the Marvel comic book genre of drama. The friendship simulator is good, but it wants to be something more in order to be great. However, for fans of these characters, it's quite adequate. The resulting dialogues of these interactions around the Abbey can be as immersive as the player wants, and it's an experience you can delve into or ignore, depending on your preference. I, for one, found this both a great romp with one of my favorite New Mutants, Magic, and that alone made it worthwhile to explore. However, there are definite lore changes from the comics, specifically regarding her origin, that firmly place this game among one of the what-if multiverses outside the current and former comic books, or the MCU. That said, it holds up great for gameplay, and touches enough Marvel nostalgia to have me geeking out over mentions of the Runaways and Cloak and Dagger, not to mention the X-Men, of course, and the Avengers are included. And there's the wider Marvel properties, things I don't want to get into for spoiler's sake. As far as whether this is a fun entertainment and has replayability, it gets a full beard. So was it fun and entertaining? The early game is a learning experience and so suffers from the overwhelming amount of information regarding the introduction of the cast, the setting, the gameplay mechanics, and the main character. That said, it is what you would expect from what is on the tin. After completing the missions, you can continue on to complete more of the achievements, or experience more friendship interactions among the characters. However, the Hunter being called the first customizable character in a Marvel game is a little misleading, as most of the creation seems like you are creating your character from scratch. But the game and the end credits really hit home that you should have called her the Huntress, as the female representation on the cover is the image that appears, rather than any kind of version of your own customizations that you've put on the character. Although the playability is totally customizable, so in that respect, I can see where they're coming from. I guess I would have been happier if the character was simply called the Slayer, but there may be some Buffy copyright on that. Overall, I had fun in my 140 hours so far, and as soon as I upload this, I will be continuing on from day 66 until the Deadpool DLC arrives. So the overall ranking I give this game is full beard. Playing 140 hours, I'll play more, and I'll do a full run through on higher and higher difficulties, and as more DLCs are released. So it's a good game that's worth a buy in my opinion if you have a love for Marvel stories, if you are slightly addicted to friendship sims, and it has a unique tactical and strategic experience in general that most would find intriguing. And of course, if you like card building formula thing, that's in there too. Even at full price, I'd buy it, like I did. So you can find the complete run playlist that I base this review on, and more on my homepage. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to let me know what you would like to have covered in future reviews or as a future playlist. Until then, Excelsior, adventurers!